on my mind.
Somebody in a parachute has just landed on the edge of the ring. Holyfield bit by a dirty Mike Tyson.
Hello and welcome to episode 49 of the award-winning combat sports podcast, The Boxing Show. With me, your host, Rob Tebbett. As always, I'd like to remind everybody to please like, comment and subscribe. Turn your notifications on for more boxing content. Now that's out of the way, I'm joined by the usual duo of Mr. Barry Jones and Mr. Andy Clark as we have a look at last weekend's action before looking ahead to this weekend, Devin Haney versus Ryan Garcia. How we doing, chaps?
Yeah, good. I think you should try and get free coffee downstairs because you advertise their coffee cups all the time.
We get a discount. So we get 10%. 10% discount.
Does everybody in the building get 10%?
You get 100% discount because I buy your coffees for you.
A couple of times you bought them. Or whatever.
We're going to do a broker anyway.
Yeah. We're still just reeling by the fact that you reneged on your agreement, which was
I fucking wondered. I wondered about this.
To go to Canelo against Munguia.
Did I say Vegas?
You didn't say Vegas. You said a proper away trip.
A proper away trip.
Did say that.
So
did say that.
As I was talking to Barry about it because Andy was up to mischief. There is plans afoot.
That is better. Yours is better.
There is plans afoot.
What mischief?
This mischief of bringing it up in the group. So I said to Barry, I was like, just don't worry, mate. Like we're gonna. So we have something planned. We have something afoot. But I don't want to mention it on here in case it doesn't happen.
Oh, okay.
Slags me off.
Right.
But yes,
he just messaged me privately, trying to just catch it so I don't start. I'll go full him on. I just like it.
Yeah, I can't risk.
So
like,
he just started to
it's
slow me
much
down.
Safer.
So I go away thinking, oh look where we're going, and I know we're not going there. Like it's full of shit.
We might be going. We're working on it at the minute.
But
where were we all this weekend? Andy was quite.
No, I had the weekend off. I had the weekend off.
What does Andy Clark get up to on a weekend off?
First, isn't it?
So I didn't do an enormous amount, to be honest. A little thing I needed to write for Fury versus Usyk, a kind of historical look at Undisputed. So I did that. And other than that, not a great deal, to be honest. Watched quite a lot of golf. I'm not sure if you two were into golf. I watched the US Masters. I backed the winner in the Grand National, but it was the favourite. So, it didn't require any great knowledge. But I picked it because of the name. I am Maximus Decimus Meridius, the commander of the armies of the North and the general of the Felix Legions. So I went with that, and it won, which was absolutely brilliant.
What odds did you get on it?
7-1.
Decent. Should have made him buy the fucking coffees. Anyway, Barry, you did. Yeah, I like it, by the way, how it's like, I had a weekend off. What did you do? I wrote this thing on Fury Usyk. You're just like me. Like, what did you do on your weekend off? I watched the boxing. Like,
I did. I watched the Zone Show Saturday night. Yeah, dipped in and out of that.
You two were great, man.
Anyway, Barry, you were working this past weekend.
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
How did you get on?
I had a good night. So I did two tonight.
Well, you were swept off your feet on Saturday,
wouldn't we? Really?
What's that?
We'd be the judge of that.
What if I had a good night?
Yeah.
Well, if I had a good night, no, I don't care about the work. I enjoyed myself. The work's irrelevant.
You were swept off your feet on Saturday night, weren't you? You were running all over the place at the Manchester show for the DAZN card, weren't you? You were everywhere.
No,
he wasn't anywhere. He's having a nice, easy one, weren't you?
I don't think they pay me for nothing. But I don't think they realise that. I think they just want to put. They want they show me where I am in the pecking order. Like you're right, you're by there. Like so, like that. Like Addy's there. I'm Darren thing. The runner, guy makes the tea.
Chev Clark ahead of you.
Chef
Clark, yeah.
I'm over there somewhere like that. I did nothing. I enjoyed it. I got to watch the show and spent most of my weekend on a train pretty much. It was good. A good show. York Hall was good Friday because it's the York Hall. It's always a good atmosphere. And then in Manchester, it wasn't packed by any stretch of the imagination. And then be careful what I say.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But it was good. But it was good. It was an entertaining night. I thought we got a new world champion. We got a unified world champion.
Well, we're going to. I think we're going to split this because there'll be a lot of angry Americans who don't really care about York Hall. Shame on them. it anyway. So we're gonna do. I think we're gonna have this as the review segment
Do we
before
get
we
a lot
have.
of Americans watching this?
Yeah.
Do
Yeah,
we?
you'd be surprised. You'd be
Okay.
surprised. They all hate us, but they watch.
Do
So,
they?
yeah, they don't like us, but I shout out America. But Barry, we're going to start.
I'm happy because you look at him when you say that.
I don't really watch stuff if I really
Hate
don't
you.
like the people hosting it or listen to it.
But that's
I
not
just-
boxing, though, is it? People will engage with your stuff to tell you they don't like you. That's the whole
Okay.
point of it. Angry
Yeah.
people click is something that somebody once told me, and it's true. Barry, going to come to you. We're not going to go into the deep dark depths of every card.
Why?
Certainly, because we're on a time here.
Didn't watch it, did you?
I did. I watched Charlie Edwards make his return to the ring.
Yeah.
Kind of was a very Charlie Edwards performance, wasn't it?
I thought he boxed well. I thought he boxed really well. You know, he's up against a guy who was tough and strong, easy to hit, to be honest. But a guy, if you hold your feet with, he fires back. So he never held his feet. He boxed intelligently, tried to get a bit of weight on shots when he could. He fought like Charlie. He moves around a lot, plants his feet for a little while, fights in bursts of 2s and 3s, and then spins off and moves away. It was a good performance, and being out for such a long time, and he's had one sort of fight. What was that? 11 months ago or something. But really, he hasn't really boxed for a few years, have he? Really,
Really, that Martinez.
yeah,
fight,
that was it.
really.
Yeah, so it was good to see him back at the new weights, and he looks strong, and yeah, I think so. He has where he goes, who knows? But he has a bit of a future. He looked nice and sharp. I thought it was a good performance. I don't know what it looked like on TV. It might not have been the best crowd pleasing thing. I don't know, but for me, I thought he boxed really well. I liked a lot of it.
Lot to like about Charlie Edwards, Andy. Obviously, we've all covered pretty much all of his career, and it's been a little while since we've seen him in the ring active, but still, former world champion. And despite, being around seemingly forever, both him and Sonny Edwards don't really have that much miles on the clock. I mean, he had that hard night against Martinez. Obviously, he had the fight earlier on in his career against John Real Casimiro, but obviously he was very much a pup at that stage. But still, some interesting nights ahead potentially for Charlie.
Yeah, I think so. It's like you say, he doesn't really have that many miles on the clock, so I'm genuinely kind of intrigued to see what he might still go on to do, because he's got lots of experience now, and he's been through it the last few years. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I do remember vividly the night that he won the WBC title, because it was on a big card, and he'd come in to do fighter meetings the day before, and I remember him just really convincing us that it was going to be his night. It was one of those conversations you kind of remembered, and I certainly remembered it the following night when he did produce the performance and got the win, and then you felt like he could kick on from that. And then the night against Martinez was just a bizarre spectacle, wasn't it, because of the way it finished. People can't quite remember it. He went down, he was on his hands and knees basically, and then Martinez hit him so late that the referee had actually turned around to get back into the corner and pick up the count, Mark Lyson, and missed it. So it was a no contest in the end, because Mauricio Suleiman was at ringside and got involved. But it was going against him up to that point anyway, that fight really. And then since that, it's just, he just disappeared, didn't he, basically?
Yeah, changes in management and training.
Yeah, all sorts.
Finding
When you
hope.
think about it, that was nearly 5 years ago.
I know, it's
5 years
amazing,
ago in
isn't it?
August.
And even though there's no miles on the clock, I don't think I have no real study of basis on this, but I don't think it's the sort of sport you can be away for long. You get the odd freak of nature who can just come back after 5 years and dominate, but though I can't name one off the top of my head, but I can't name one full stop. But I mean, it's not a sport. I think it's one of the sports you have to keep this. Timeout usually means you don't come back as good as you were.
Yeah.
Timeout would have been something he just probably never had, because him and Sonny were boxing since boys, and they had a ring in their front garden. They were at it all the time. And then up on GB, he's one of these people who's probably never been out of shape a day in his life.
Yeah,
and so to go that long period without boxing must have been really, really odd.
Yeah, if you look at his career since then, Martinez was August of 2019. Then he boxed Carl Williams September of 2020, Jacob Barretto on December 21, then June 23. So he's averaging less than a fight a year over the last 5 years.
Yeah, it's not good enough.
And he was on big shows. I mean, that was Lomachenko Campbell, wasn't it? I think?
Yes, it was.
Martinez.
Yeah, I was there.
And then when he won his title, the WBC title, I think that was Was that
He
Dillian
boxed
White?
Christopher Rosales
Yeah.
on the White Chisora
Yeah,
2 undercard.
yeah.
It's a good win, that is.
Yeah,
Rosales.
yeah.
Rosales
Really
still
good.
knocking around at top
Yeah.
level now. He's still kind of there or thereabouts.
I remember seeing Andrew Selby standing on his head.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was at that.
He dropped Selby, didn't he?
Yeah, but and that just showed you how good he was.
Yeah. It was a real shame that we're not going to get that Charlie Edwards-Cowyer fight, which was kind of discussed for many years.
For
wasn't
a
it?
long time.
And it looked as though there may have been one last roll of the dice for making that happen.
He might get Galal.
Last year, potentially, but I think somebody who is very much interested in Galal, who we'll talk about just before we move on, is Sonny Edwards, who yesterday was announced to be boxing Adrian Curiel, former light flyweight champion. Good fight, Barry,
Yes,
on
yeah,
that
I love
Juan
that.
Francisco Estrada Bam Rodriguez undercard.
It's great. That fight alone itself. Can we just talk about that fight instead? Just do that
No.
fight. But yeah, that added to it because there's if he can look good, I think it's a fight that it's a physically hard fight for Sonny, and also tactically it's that hard. So if he's still full of it, which I think he will be, and he can put on a performance, he puts himself in the shop window for either a rematch with Bam, which I wouldn't recommend, but it was a good fight to watch. But the Bam fight was a fantastic fight, and he'll want it again. Or Estrada, they're the names he wants to be around and fight. We're not a lose. I think he's shown that losing doesn't affect his confidence, and because he's been boxing long enough, like everyone's been around boxing, we all realise that losing is part of what part of the sport. Some people have to lose, and don't mean you're a shot fighter if you lose. And that's, I think, we all forget that. As soon as someone loses, we tend, even if they get knocked out, we go, that's the end of him. History will tell you that's not, to be honest. So, yeah, I think it's a good fight. It's a really good fight because Curiel's a good fighter, but he's a little bit route one for Sonny. You've got a little bit more to your game, I think. But
He's a very stereotypical Mexican, isn't he? Come forward, loads up with a big left hook to the body.
Yeah, but it shows the intention for Sonny to go back into a fight of a guy who's just literally only just lost the world title.
I mean, interesting night as well. I saw the behind the scenes video that Matchroom released where it looked like Sonny was writing lines for Eddie after school. He was like in detention in the back room, and he said to Eddie, being Eddie, sort of said to him, "Well, 12,000 screaming Mexicans are going to be in there. You're going to be in there." You can see Sonny.
I tell you what, though, Phoenix is the place to go for boxing. Well, you were there, weren't you?
Yeah.
It's a great atmosphere. It's not the biggest of stadiums, is it? It's in the same place.
I don't think it is. I think it's in a bigger place.
In the big one? Okay, well,
I think they've got a few there, so I don't know if it's...
See
sorry, George.
See me block George Groves? He's slow, isn't he, George? George.
I think it's in a bigger, but I don't know, because there is one massive one there, so I don't think it's in the big one, but I think it's in
Because the Munguia fight with Ryder, the atmosphere was tremendous there, and I tell you what you get in Phoenix. Phoenix is a new home of boxing in the States, but what you get in Phoenix is they turn up early. I know, like American sports, they all go there, like the kids and all that. That's what it was like for... It wasn't too bad for Sonny and Bam. It was quite busy early, but I mean for Munguia and Ryder, I mean about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was like 3/4 full.
So where's the arena? I've never been there, but what I mean is, where is it? Is it one of those ones where you have to kind of like drive out there?
No,
it's in the same spot as Munguia Ryder.
Okay, so it's downtown Phoenix, yeah. So it's actually more of an officey area, isn't it? I think really, but it's downtown, so it's not too far from the airport, so it's pretty central. The other one is in Glendale, where he boxed Bam, which is a little bit further out, so it's easy to get to, and it's so it's where they play the basketball, of course. So
that'd be good.
I always kind of feel like if there's not much around the arena, then people are more likely to get there early. If the arena's well set up and like bars and everything you need there, you might just think, well, I may as well just go over there early.
Yeah, do you know? I think it is about, even though it's in downtown, I think that is mainly the officey sort of business.
Right.
There were some
area.
spots outside around and nearby, but it wasn't like you go to the O2. You
We
can take you forever.
We went to go to buy. I think I was with Addy Oladipo, and he wanted to buy trainers or something like that.
You said that
Sound like such an old man. He wanted to buy these trainers or something.
I don't know. Like, I'm looking for strip clubs. He's looking for trainers. Like, you know what I mean? Amanda, I wasn't looking for strip clubs.
Addy was.
Street walkers, I was looking for.
Trainers is just a code.
Street workers.
The broadcasters come up with.
anyway, right? But and they said, this is more of a, like, they had like a place where you just could buy t-shirts and like everything, Steph Curry, everything and things like that, and whatever it was, and they were on the window, even though he doesn't play for Phoenix. But anyway, it was there wasn't a lot of shops there, and they said this is mainly like the business area. So yeah, I don't know what the fuck.
I was going to say, there you go. So if
Ruby
anybody
on,
was wondering what the layout was in Phoenix, there you go.
We could just go full partridge.
Luckily, we brought the board with us, right? So,
on floor 1.
what was that all about? Can we start again?
Anyway, we'll move on. But who knows? Maybe you'll see the boxing show in Arizona yourself. At the end
I
of
do
June.
think it's really interesting with Sonny, though.
The business class
just
fight
before we
Just
before we go on to the next thing, I've always believed in his confidence, that it's real and that he understands what can and cannot happen in there, and that might sound like a really obvious thing to say, but some people, they feel like they do, I think, sometimes, but they don't really accept or believe that they'll lose. They don't have that kind of realism. It's part of their confidence is this idea that it can't happen to them, and that's a dangerous idea to have, and I've never felt that he's one of them, because I've spoken to him enough about that exact subject to know that that's not the case. But I don't think what happened to him against Bam is something that he ever really would have envisaged happening. No. I think he would always accept that he could lose, but that it would be boxing at the top level, close one on points. Maybe it's not really your night and you're not as good as you should have been. But I don't think getting badly damaged and stopped in the way that he did, not that he wasn't competitive, but that is what happened. He got badly damaged early and then stopped. I don't think that's something that he ever really would have imagined could happen to him. So this first fight back after that, it is still a big thing.
I know it's not Sonny Edwards, there is no podcast, but I know boxed. I mean, he was in the fight early, but he was getting outboxed as well. Yeah. I think, so, no, even you except getting knocked out, got caught with a good shot. You can. But if you're the master boxer, and you get outboxed in stages, in big stages, and you start to think he was never schooled, but there was, Bam was fantastic, but Bam's a generational talent. That's the difference. So, but I mean, you lose to someone like that, you can accept it. I think the thing we said, because you're around boxing all the time, so he sees people lose in lower levels. He's seen people not everyone's where he is, where most fighters like Carabajal was in a big Carabajal. I haven't mentioned him for ages, right? Carabajal, that's why. But no, he was around fighters winning and loot. But I think he just ignored everyone. He didn't go to other shows, didn't watch any of his mates, didn't watch anyone. I mean, he thought I was I think I'm best mates with Joe. He thought I was a southpaw. You know what I mean? I had to tell him the other week, I went, "Oh, southpaw." Yeah, no, but you know, he never seen me box because it's all about him, innit? And that's what it's like for big players. But I think Sonny's kept his feet on the ground in that respect. But he's a chopsy kid because he's a small guy hanging around with big fellas all his life, and that's his way to get around it.
No, I
mean,
I think he'll be okay. I think he can get past that, but he's not to be underestimated.
Absolutely not.
Those are the ones that are really, they can be very difficult for people when something happens in there that you might not publicly say it because you don't want to sound arrogant or whatever, but there's a scenario. That was a scenario that I don't think he really would have imagined happening.
Yeah, but it's a very good fight. Adrian Curiel, as we mentioned, was the light flyweight champion, knocked out Sivanati Non-Shinga. But Non-Shinga's performance in the rematch was unbelievable. But anyway, great fight and one we're very much looking forward to. Maybe we'll be there. We'll have to let you know. But anyway, moving on to Saturday night. Barry, going to come to you first as the man on the ground in Manchester. Jordan Gill against Zelfa Barrett. Competitive fight throughout before Zelfa Barrett unloaded to the body in the 10th round and caused a stoppage.
Yeah, it was. Do you know, everyone was saying it was a real 50-50 fight. Like, not everyone, I was around. And, not true, really. But it was, I never saw it as a 50-50 fight. I just thought, literally, it was Barrett's fight to lose. And I honestly thought Barrett was going to get rid of him early. And I thought it looked that way. Because Barrett should have been pushing him back. He can move really well. He showed against Rakimov he can box on the move really well. But he's not a big puncher, but there's spite in his punches when he wants to. But he boxed more like he boxed against Martinez, I think, and waited too long. And even though I thought he was ahead after 5 rounds, he was like 3-2 up maybe, and at least maybe 4-1. But then he just didn't do anything. I think he got so carried away with moving that he allowed Jordan Gill. This is before I talk about Jordan Gill. He allowed Jordan Gill just to close the space, and then Jordan Gill was. I thought at the end of it was. I thought it was close, one round or two either way, a round ahead or 2 rounds ahead maximum for Jordan Gill. I thought it was really close, but he was ahead, and he shouldn't have been, because you could see from the beginning every time Zelfa Barrett threw an uppercut or threw a left hook, He wasn't hurting Jordan Gill, but you could see the reaction. And I just thought it was a matter of time for he just holds his feet and rattles off a combination. But he just allowed a guy to build confidence. And if you're going to be boxing for world titles, unless you're a super busy fighter on the move, like I know you have to be, you allow a guy confidence and you're trying to be economical with your shots. If you don't have power, you're going to get beat. Guaranteed. Like that, I saw Zelfa and I thought, I was thinking about Joe Cordina, and I thought that was also a difficult fight for Joe, that I thought Joe would be a massive favourite, but it was a fight that he's not getting loads of money. Why would you want to fight Zelfa? It's a hard fight. After watching that, I thought, well, if I was Joe, I'd take that. And it might be less money, but just a fight you get a fight at home. If he gets past Kakachi, of course, in May, then I'd have Barrett at home, because if he's that lazy against Joe Cordina, he gets battered. Package that up and just put that little clip out. But no, it's true though. I think he showed some real frailty in his work. And Jordan Gill, fantastic. Like, he's up against a guy who really has a more physical advantage, of naturally bigger, faster hands, snappier puncher. It might not be a heavier puncher, but I think he's snappier with his work.
Isn't he? Got that whippy power,
that was the shot that finished it, of course. And I just think that he just kept. He wasn't getting close enough quick enough, I didn't think. But then all of a sudden, and in the early rounds, he looked that way. He's just going to be walking onto shots, and he's going to walk onto one he doesn't see, like an uppercut right through the middle. But he didn't put enough pressure on to slow Zelfa down. Zelfa just stopped throwing punches, and that just allowed Gill to get close then. And then, even though he wasn't battering Barrett, it was all the rounds were close. He was the only one working, so you had to give him the rounds. But he just perseveres, just keeps going, and he'll walk through a wall to get there. And in the end, I felt sort of sorry for him. Though I picked Zelfa to win, and I don't know either one, but I sort of know Zelfa more than him, so I half wanted Zelfa to win. I was sat next to Tony Bellew, and Bellew was calling for Gill, so that made me want Barrett to win more. Yeah. No, I love Tony Bellew, he was brilliant, but just because he was calling for him and everyone was calling for Gill, I thought, I want Barrett to win now. Like, being the idiot I am. But I felt sorry for Gill. I thought he deserved to win. Though he didn't. He got beat in the end, fair enough. But I mean, I thought Barrett almost threw the fight away. That's pretty much what I'm trying to say. I think he almost threw the fight away, but the finish was fantastic. Now, whipping left hook, just brilliant shot. It's a brilliant shot.
Those middle rounds for Zelfa Barrett, is that a physical thing? He's been at super featherweight for a long time.
Well, I was just going to say exactly the same thing. Like, how do you get him to make that switch then? What I've always enjoyed about watching him is that he does have this kind of patience in his own ability to close the show and take his time about doing it. But like you said there, if upper level, you can't be giving anything away.
No, you get.
So what do you? It's not like you're needing to ask him to do something he can't do. I don't think, is it?
It's a mental gap. It's a mental thing, and also and I don't know how they train, like, but if you don't do it in the gym, you're never going to do it in the ring. So, like, I said this about Carl Frost. So if he kept his hands up, I said, but he doesn't train that way. He trains with his hands down. So you can't expect the guy, because when you're tired, you revert back to type. And holding your hands up is a tiring thing, for instance. But like, so for Barrett, moving around constantly, that doesn't tire him out. That's like co-pilot, autopilot for him. Co-pilot. That's autopilot for him. He's moving around. Like I could do. I move. My feet were never tired. Throwing punches tired me out, and maybe that's just it for him, because you got to use different muscles. So he has to train a different way. So like, I maybe he is training that way, but I don't. So it's a mental thing. So you get used to a pattern. Oh, you box, and you got to click out of it, and he'll do it to someone really forces him. But someone like Gill wasn't really putting loads of pressure on him. It wasn't intense pressure, but he has to fire back because he's going to get stopped. It was just a guy walking him down because he wasn't getting hurt. And I think sometimes you can think it looks different on the outside than it actually does. So you're moving around making a miss now and again, and you probably think you look like Sugar Ray Leonard against Hagler, and you don't. Or against Duran, there you go, in the second fight, and you don't. You just look like a guy who's not doing anything. So I just think it's... Yeah,
that's an interesting point, that, because I wonder about that sometimes, because that's always very possible, isn't it? You've got a fighter who looks capable of upping it almost at any time, but whilst they're not doing it, the other fighter can just win the rounds, can't they?
And the worst thing in the world, because when you don't have an equaliser, You got keep someone you keep them in the cage. The fight in the cage. If you got the ability to keep them in the cage, if it's with fear of your punch or your speed or whatever you got, you like make it feel it early, whatever that. It's the same sort of scenario. Keep them in their cage. You give someone confidence. We see momentum swing in boxing better, more than any sport, haven't we? We see in any sport actually. All of a sudden, one team's under pressure and then they have a bit of success. The other one, no. Why all of a sudden? Why do you have a team that's leading 2-0 in a cup final? Defend for the last 30 minutes, 20 minutes, under pressure, defending a lead.
And this weird psychological
it's that mentality,
thing.
Isn't it? Because the other one's pushing on, and you get that.
They stop doing what they've been doing to that point and just think, oh, right, okay. But yeah.
You got a fight walking on the punch, all of a sudden you dance with one punch, and it's that, that adrenaline rush. Oh, I've had a bit of success here. And you go at the corner and you go, see, there you go. And even though you've lost the round, it's just you've had a bit of success and you work off it. And if a guy is not doing nothing, that's what I thought. Gill just kept building on it. And again, no one was dominating anything. It was all a close-ish fight. But I thought Gill was ahead, and he shouldn't have been. Barrett should have been a mile ahead. And Barrett really should have got the stoppage earlier, I thought. And that's no...
He froze him, didn't he, with a right hand. I think it was the 4th round. He just landed a right hand. You just see Gill just freeze just for that 1 minute. But then he didn't really follow up with that. The 5th round was very close. I felt like Barrett had a really good 3rd and 4th round.
Yeah.
The first couple were quite close, were very close.
I just thought give them.
And then you think like once he had that 3rd and 4th round, you think, okay, is this where he starts to go? But then he allowed, as you mentioned there, sort of Jordan Gill after he would have felt that shot in the 4th round, I think it was, and he come out in the 5th round thinking, okay, and then he just allowed him back into it, and he gets the confidence again and allows him back into the fight, doesn't it?
And once you got him there, and then you got to change that his mindset, his momentum, and he's coming at you there, and he's not afraid of the shots coming forward. In the end, that's what got him into trouble in the end. But Barrett sort of flicked the switch in the last round, and the pressure. I don't know whether I couldn't hear the corner, so I don't know what Pat was telling him in the corner. Like maybe he was saying, "Listen, what are you doing? Like, this is just a close fight. It shouldn't have been a close fight." And that's no disrespect to Jordan Gill. Listen, good luck to him. He's had a fantastic career. And whether he carries on or not, it's irrelevant. But he's had a fantastic career up to this point. And he's probably surpassed what people's expectations of him were. And maybe himself. But, you don't see it that way because you think I'm one fight from maybe a world title shot. But it was Barrett's fight to lose, I thought, on paper before it. And I thought after the first 5 rounds, even though he wasn't dominating, you could see when he went to work, he looked a better fighter of the two. He looked naturally bigger. He looked at the guy who might get the stoppage, and he just didn't do enough for me for me to think that he can step up. And I'm not quite sure he can step up now. I'm open right. I've been a fan of his for a long time. I've covered his early career, and I thought he got a lovely loose style, and he whips the shots in, and he can look really fantastic when he's on form. But I think there's a frailty in his makeup a little bit, and that might be a mental aspect where he just doesn't. Not want it enough, because I don't believe that's ever the case. Yeah, I don't know. He's a coaster. Is that his word?
Yeah, it's just that style, isn't it? I mean, you've seen throughout his career. Ronnie Clark, when Ronnie Clark beat him at York Hall, that's somebody's coming forward, putting the pressure on the aggressive side.
Sorry,
but that was a really good defeat, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, because you learned but when you look at that performance compared to the Kiko Martinez fight and then the Rakhimov, it's that same style, isn't it? It's that.
I think the Martinez fight's the one. I think the Clark fight was his first fight. And Clark by then was a good fighter.
He was a good fighter.
By then, tough,
mad bastard.
And I thought Barrett showed loads of bottle in that fight because he got up off the floor.
He was dropped heavy in that fight.
Yeah, and he was knackered as well. So that's sometimes when you're hurt and tired, that can sometimes be, especially when it first happens to you early in your career. You can understand if you sort of go, "Oh, I don't really want this," and then it doesn't look like you sit out. But you sit out. He got around the goal. He wanted to win. He fired back. He just didn't do enough, and that was fair enough. The Rakhimov fight was a step up in levels, and I thought he boxed really well. And I did think he hurt his knee. We never really spoke about that. I think he had a problem with his knee. I think they looked. I think
the eardrum one.
Oh, the eardrum.
Because at the time, everyone was going, "What about the leg looked like it went?"
That was me. I think it was that. Yeah,
because he lost all of his balance with the eardrum.
Yeah. So and maybe he would have waned because I think Rakhimov was tremendously strong, but they just kept putting the pressure on him. But I mean, I thought he boxed really well. I think he boxed the right fight against Rakhimov. The Martinez fight, Martinez is Martinez, but I think again that was a fight where he just much bigger than him. And he just didn't. That the fight he coasted, and a lot of people thought he lost, and it was too close for comfort. Where it looked like he could have outboxed him and dominated early, and then held on for dear life in the end at the last few rounds. That's what he should have. He should have worked hard, not worry about keeping it Don't worry about keeping it. You know, if you can manage a fight and maintain your energy throughout the 12 rounds, great. If you're not sure, win as many rounds as you can and hold on for dear life at the end. Don't manage rounds if that's what it is. If you're trying to manage rounds so you don't gas out, well, that's stupid if you're giving rounds away. And then you have to do more than you want to do because you're still going to tire. So I'd rather be exhausted at round 10 and be 4 rounds ahead than tired at round 10 and it be level. It can't be level.
Because you put wind in their sails as well by doing that, haven't you?
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's
But
like,
you haven't got,
sometimes if somebody's built up that big lead, they might be absolutely dying towards the end. The other fighter doesn't quite realise until it's a bit too late.
It reminded me of the Eric Donovan fight, which is something that Zelfa Barrett said afterwards, where he was just getting outmanoeuvred, wasn't really doing an awful lot, and then before you know it, that left hook lands, and then it changed the fight.
Yeah, and he was patient in that fight. Donovan's a really good technical fighter, but he was probably 6-1 up through 7 rounds, Eric. I reckon. I remember doing that fight and thinking, you know, I'm struggling to find a round for Zelfa Barrett, and then he finished him, and it was impressive.
It's you don't really know what you're going to get from Zelfa Barrett, because I rewatched the Kurbanov fight when he boxed Kurbanov, and I remember Kurbanov gave Cordina a real close fight. I mean, I think the cards were probably a little bit closer than the fight actually was. Thought Cordina was a worthy winner, but then you look at that performance from Kurbanov and you see what Zelfa Barrett boxed really well in that fight. Never let him anywhere near him, but he is a bit up and down, and I'm not really sure.
Busier in that fight. This is good. Maybe Jordan Gill could punch his weight. I think at super featherweight, I think he carries a bit more power. So I don't want to take away anything from Jordan Gill. I just think talk about the winner like we should do always really. But and I just thought after the first 3 or 4 rounds, you could see from Zelfa, certainly up to 5 rounds, you could see from Zelfa, when Zelfa did let his hands go, he looked much better. The guy who could do more damage. And then didn't do anything. That's what I felt. Maybe I might be wrong, and maybe people seen it differently than that. But yeah, I thought it was his fight to lose. And after that stage, I still thought, even though it was close, I still thought it was his fight to lose. I thought he would just build on that. Actually, that was it. The 4th and 5th round, the other decent. I thought he would.
3rd and 4th, he had really good.
I thought he'd build on that,
Yeah,
and he never. And he went the other way. And he's not a lucky Jordan Gill because he got caught with a good shot. But I mean, I felt like I almost wanted him to win at the end there because he was the only one trying to win the fight. And I don't mean you haven't got. It don't mean just because you don't come forward, don't mean you're not trying to win the fight. But it didn't look like Zelfa wanted to do enough to win the fight. That's what it looked like. Or maybe he just thought he blitzed the first 6 rounds. Maybe he thought he won everything and just thought he had to just be safe. I don't know. But even that's a worry because again, it's back to that football when you're defending a lead. You end up putting yourself under pressure. You don't need to be under. I didn't think he needed to be, and I think he can throw his punches against a guy like Jordan Gill, who hasn't got the fastest of feet, does jump into shots, and he's a bit cleverer than what he looks like he is. But with Zelfa's reach, with his wingspan, you can do all your work in almost a safe place. He throws an uppercut from it's longer than most people's jabs. His uppercut, so he got the luxury of being able to throw shots from distance, and he has that lovely footwork where he can create the space to he can jump out the distance a little bit to whip those shots in, and he has speed and acceleration and pace in his punches, so he can throw from a safe place almost all the time against someone like that with slower feet. So, and then you've got to force them to make the effort to come to close the gap, and then they might walk onto a shot. So I think he just needs to be a little bit. His mindset needs to be a little bit more. Always got to look to be busy without being like a lunatic. I mean, you can be a counterpuncher and look to be busy. Force him to make a mistake. Constant feints. He does it now and again, and when he does, he looks brilliant, doesn't he?
Yeah. I think with him personally that it wouldn't have been that he felt like he was ahead. I think that he's just got real confidence that when he wants to, he can put them together and finish it. And that's not going to maybe be the case against everybody, and he'll know that, but he'll get a gauge maybe early in the fight of how he feels the fight's going to go or what he feels he can do, and that against Jordan Gill he would have thought to himself after rounds 3 and 4, not whenever I want to I could finish this, but I can take this guy out. I can take this guy out. I didn't do it then, I didn't need to do it then, but this is what's going to happen. And I there's something very kind of attractive about that kind of fighter, but I do agree that you're not. I mean, if you could do that against everybody, you'd be the best fighter that ever lived, wouldn't you? So you've got to come up with something different maybe when he's right up at the top level.
Before we move on, obviously we all saw the heart-wrenching interview that Jordan Gill gave after the Michael Conlon loss. He kind of alluded to, considering his future now after the loss to Zelfa Barrett.
Conlon win.
Conlon loss for Conlon, win for Jordan Gill. There we go. Cheers, Barry. Where next for Jordan Gill for you, Andy?
It is kind of a tricky one, isn't it? Because if he'd beaten Zelfa Barrett, then that would have put him into world title contention. But he didn't win, obviously. And where does that kind of leave him? He's in that spot where he'd be looking to try and get another fight like that, but he's not going to get another fight like that straight away. So it would be a case of picking up a win which moves him back towards that. He's in a kind of hinterland now, isn't he? And that's not where you want to be at that stage of your career. It comes down to his own motivation. How much kind of hunger has he got left, really? And I don't know the answer to that, because you need to be kind of right on the inside to know that, really.
He's literally had the best win of his career. Conlon. Conlon might have been a little bit past his sell by date. I think that was always a worry about that. That was a fight that was hard to choose the winner. I thought.
But it was a massive win.
I picked Conlon,
but
but I picked Conlon to win, especially in Belfast as well, and because of his ability. But there was a worry that Conlon maybe wasn't as strong as he used to be, and was,
punch resistance.
Yeah,
on the back of those.
But anyway,
Wood and Lopez.
You go from that win to that, and all of a sudden, that's what boxing's like. And it was talking about maybe should he call it a day. Him and Rhys Bellotti.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I mean, I don't think he hasn't won a British title, Jordan, has he?
No, Commonwealth money.
Yeah.
Beat Rhys Bellotti.
Yeah,
I'd like to see Michael
Commonwealth.
Gomez Jr. against Rhys Bellotti.
Yeah, who wouldn't? Yeah, exactly.
That would be a great fight.
Yeah.
Who obviously boxed this past weekend. We're not going to get.
It should happen, shouldn't it? Because Gomez is an English champion. He's defended.
That's a great fight.
It's a good fight. Yeah,
that's a really good fight. Also, I've tweeted something about Michael Gomez. He can fight. He's got famous father, and he's mental.
Yeah.
What else do you need?
But I mean, but if Jordan Gill can do a job, he beat Bellotti on the
fight camp.
Yeah. He boxed brilliant that night.
Yeah, really good. Yeah,
looks really good. He had that Wilfredo Gomez haircut, didn't he?
Yeah.
He didn't. And the short, he looked really, didn't he? He looked brilliant. But he boxed really structured, really clever, really disciplined, and didn't allow the puncher. He took away the punch by using his feet cleverly without ever running. He boxed perfect. I thought. I was really impressed with the performance. Bellotti's a better fighter now, I think. There's another fight today, because you think, where's he going to go? And he just, not everyone's got to go. Not everyone's got to keep looking to go to the next level. Rhys Bellotti's a British level fighter, and he's won the British title. And he might defend it forever. And he might lose. And he might win it again. You think sometimes your level's your level, and if you're happy there, you always want to go.
It's just whether Jordan would feel like that was like a step down from where he wants to be.
It will come down to what he gets paid, won't it, for that fight?
But it's a title he's never won.
No, I agree.
And against a god fighter he's beat.
Yeah.
There's a storyline there, and that's and I think it's a sellable fight. And I think them two together. I don't think Jordan Gill's shot. I mean, you worry about how long. You don't want to be people that say punches all their life, but let's take the empathy out of the room. That's him with the promoter, right? And you just take it for like value. It's like that's a good value fight to watch.
I spoke to Lee Wood yesterday, obviously big friends with Jordan Gill, and he said, I spoke to Jordan and said, at your age, I hadn't won a title. I'd never won a title by your age. You've already been, European champion, and now obviously Lee Wood's world champion. Obviously different kind of career paths, but. Who knows?
Yeah, but you've never put Lee Wood where he is now.
No, exactly. Right, just very, very quickly before we move on, Zelfa Barrett. Who next? Who next for Zelfa Barrett? Who next?
I mean, his rankings have got to be high with everybody.
Well, he'd be pushing the world title now.
Yeah, that's the only thing.
Do you think he beats any of the world champions?
No.
Super feather?
No.
There's Lamont Roach or Sharkey Foster. No. Oscar Valdez has the interim WBO.
I don't think it doesn't mean he doesn't deserve a shot. If he's high up the rankings, you are where you are.
Yeah.
I don't see he beats any of them, to be honest. I mean, maybe one comes vacant. You don't know, do you? I think you'd have, if Kakachi were to get a win over Joe Cordina, who's a good fighter, Kakachi, by the way, but so that's not a given. But that probably would be don't disrespectful. That'd probably be the best route for him, maybe. But No, I don't see how he gets a look in, to be honest. But no, that's almost irrelevant. It's not irrelevant, but
I know what you mean. Like we
Yeah.
say this in the past, don't we? When people say, okay, if all world title fights were on paper, then there would just be no fights.
Yeah.
You can't do anything. But anyway, moving on to the undercard, and we're going to fly through some of the smaller points with respect to the undercard on both shows on Saturday night, rather than smaller points. The undercard fighters, undercard fighters. Anyway, Barry, going to come to you for Rhiannon Dixon, who picked up a world title with her win over Karen Carabajal for the vacant WBO title. What did you make of her performance?
yeah, it was alright. It was good. She's up against a really awkward fighter there in Carabajal, who fires every time. If you land with the shot, she fires back continuously. So it was always going to be a hard fight, and it was a hard night for her. She got a lovely knockdown early in the contest. It was a really good shot as well, because when I saw it, like where I was, it looked like she almost turned the body, like almost got off balance and came back with the left hand through the middle. But actually, she slips a shot. I didn't see it. I watched it back on the replay. She slips a shot and then throws left. It's a beautiful time shot. But she had to take a few shots, and I thought it was really close. To be fair,
I did as well.
So it was really close. But I think she's right. She's the right winner. I thought she was right. I don't think you could have given it the other way. But it was. I had it by two points in the end, maybe 3 maximum. But I think it was 2 points. And but I think it was a really good contest. She's still standing after she throws the punches. She's still standing a little bit tall.
Yeah, she got caught with a couple of shots just pulling that high.
But because before that, she does all the right moves. She's shimmering the shoulders and she's rolling and she's does lots of little fidgety movements. And I think that's good. And then when she goes to throw the shots, she comes up straight. And or when she throws the shots, and after she throws the shots, she stands up straight, almost to have a look, and then gets caught. And Carabajal's one of those fighters. But every time you do something, she just throws back automatically. We saw that against Katie Taylor. But it was a good opponent and a good win. I thought, well deserved, and she's a world champion. It's amazing, isn't it? She's gone from being a pharmacist or something.
Was it dental assistant, pharmacist? I don't know.
Something
Josh
like
Warrington's
that.
a dental assistant.
Dental technician.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's mad, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like to a world champion. It's amazing. Yeah, so I thought it was a decent little fight, I thought. So yeah, I thought she was the right winner. But I didn't agree with all the scorecards. But
Steve Gray had 98-91. He also had Zelfa Barrett 88-84 at the time of stoppage, which for me are 2 impossible cards. I don't see how you can have those scorecards. Shout out Steve Gray. Anyway,
Steve Gray's a good guy, a good referee.
Good guy. Just had a bad night. It happens. I mean,
got the right winner though.
Yeah. But anyway. Moving on, Andy, going to come to you for Ellie Scotney versus Ségolène Lefebvre. Glad that's a name that I'm not going to have to pronounce too many more times or spell on Twitter. I thought Ellie Scotney was fantastic. That's another fight where I thought John Latham's card, 96-94, I thought it was a little bit close. Felt like Ellie Scotney really dominated the fight and is now a unified champion.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a good watch. I enjoyed Dixon Carabajal as well. I thought it was a good solid card all round, actually. Some good action pretty much all the way through. And Scotney is one of these people who it's very difficult not to like, because she's a genuine, authentic, kind of engaging character, and she's really good, and she always has been. She was good during the amateurs. I didn't see her loads, but I saw her a bit, and when she turned professional, you could see straight away that she was a cut above most of the other fighters that you see. And she had to bide her time, because she kind of turned professional at a point where there were other fighters around her weight division who had a higher profile than her, who were kind of better maybe at marketing themselves than her, but who weren't as good as her. And she had to kind of watch that, and I'm sure it was probably pretty frustrating, and work hard in the gym and wait for her opportunities. But you always knew, or at least I was always very confident, that when they came, she would take them, because the cream, it does rise. And I do believe that is what she is, because she's unified now, and she could well clear up. She's good to watch. I think we basically saw everything that was really good about her on Saturday. There isn't all that much that she can't do. She clearly really relishes the battle. And she's, there's not much else to say about it than that, to be honest with you. And I thought her opponent was decent. He's a good, proper, solid fighter. And she couldn't really, and it was competitive. It wasn't like it was a beatdown, but I thought a very good performance.
I thought it was very good from Ellie Scotney. She kind of came out with Billy Graham. She was donned in the light blue as well, and she started boxing like Ricky Hatton. She was spamming left hooks to the body.
Billy's been a big fan for a long time. I remember a friend of mine telling me that Billy was thinking about taking his trainer's license out again to see if he could train her, because she had that kind of difficult spell, Ellie, as well, where she was leaving Adam Booth before she joined the McGuigans, where that kind of thing early in your career is difficult, isn't it? Because you turn pro and you would know better, and you've got loads of people trying to tell you what to do, and you don't know who to listen to, and then you decide on something, and then quite early you decide that that's not right and it needs to change. And it was all around COVID and all that stuff. That wouldn't have been. I mean, it wasn't ideal, was it? I don't think.
No. She's good, man.
Yeah, very good. Very I remember going into to watch her in the gym. I remember Chris Billum Smith saying to me at the time, he said, everybody stops to watch her pads because she's so correct and so neat and on the pads. Watch her pads. Watch her on the pads.
That makes sense.
Anyway, Barry, bring lowering the tone as always.
Ellie, man, you listen.
But anyway, but yeah, and you can see that, and she came very, very close to getting her first stoppage. I thought she was going to get there, and sort of around 7 and 8.
It's amazing she hasn't had any stoppages
because she punches nice and correct. She varied the shots really well. It's definitely the most aggressive we've seen her.
I think she's a fighter that would benefit from 3 minutes. Actually, I do. But she took. I would say one thing. She took too many shots, but I think she was so zoned in that she didn't care. She knew the girl couldn't punch. I think it felt like she couldn't punch. She just thought, I don't care, and I think she was brilliant. Like that was really sensible, intelligent pressure fighting. That was from her. Worked the body really well. And if that was 3 minute rounds, those body shots would have taken effect. It's almost 2 minute rounds. You're almost wasting the punch with a body shot, except for the scoring. So it's not wasted. You're not going to get the benefit. You know what I mean? You need to slow the legs down enough. But she's really good. I thought it was a really good performance. It was a high pace. She dictated the tempo throughout. Busy combinations. Going like I said, doubling up with the left hooks and stuff. The body rolling into shots. Walked onto a lot of shots. But because she has the high guard, she blocks most of them. But she just needs that fight now to a fight with some like a what weight's Ebony Bridges bantamweight.
Yeah, so she's only.
But she needs someone like her who she would batter. By the way, not batter. That's disrespectful to Ebony. I mean, because she's tough and she
win clearly.
She'd
be a big favourite.
She would totally outbox Ebony Bridges, in my opinion. But Ebony Bridges got a big profile. Or if I don't know what the weight's like for Ellie Scotney.
I don't think she can go down.
No, up.
Oh, right, okay, I was going to say...
Because Matchroom got a new featherweight champion, WC champion in Sky Nicholson, who I think was commentating on the fight that night. Yeah. Nicked my job. That's ridiculous, isn't it? Why would they have a woman commentating on women's boxing? It's mad. And a world champion as well. It's crazy. Anyway, that's a fight for her, which I think I would have Scotney as a really big favourite, by the way. I'll be honest. I think she boxed really well. Sky Nicholson, the other win to win the title. Showboat is awful, by the way. Don't showboat Sky. It was awful. But I mean, but she boxed really well and dominated a fight. And won it in second gear. But Scotney would be a different prospect for her, and then I think that would be an easy fight to make. And I think Sky Nicholson I think she's quite a well followed fighter, maybe certainly on social media. So I mean, that might be the fight that gives Ellie that breakout moment.
Yeah, she does. She needs that, doesn't she? Because I do genuinely think that she can. That she's one of the best around. And you look at that gym actually, and in her and Caroline Dubois, they've got two fighters there who could be really dominant. Far enough apart that they're never going to actually meet, right, but they could just move up the weights between the pair of them. And oh my God, the amount of titles they could win, the two of them. Yeah,
interesting fight I'd like to see for Ellie Scotney is Erica Cruz. That'd be very interesting. But anyway, we are going to have to move on. Sorry, we didn't have an awful lot of time to discuss wins there for Rhiannon Dixon and Ellie Scotney. Of course, I've just mentioned a very impressive win for Michael Gomez Jr. as well, stopping Kane Baker in 6 rounds. Really good performance from him. Looking forward to seeing what comes next for him. Anyway, on to Saturday night. And Barry, I am glad that you are here this week because we are talking about your man, Mr. Jared Anderson.
Have you heard of him?
Barry, as we all know, long-standing chairman of the Jared Anderson fan club. Barry...
Hello? Okay, so hang on, I'll get back to you in a minute.
It wasn't It wasn't what we'd certainly grown accustomed to seeing from Jared Anderson pre-Charles Martin against Ryad Merhy this weekend.
Merhy was fucking awful, man.
Pretty much every round, but against the guy in Ryad Merhy, I kind of tweeted before we started, like, above cruiserweight, Ryad Merhy doesn't do a lot. Like at cruiserweight, I think he
doesn't do a lot.
Doesn't do anything. And when you're watching it at 4 o'clock in the morning, Ryad. Anyway,
he threw a punch in the first round, I think, didn't he?
So he was loading up and trying to land that counter left hook, wasn't he? But anyway, we'll come on to the nitty gritty. What did you make of the fight?
Yeah, it wasn't a great watch, to be honest. Like I had to go and watch it on Sunday, to be honest. Like, I watched one good heavyweight. I watched not a good heavyweight. I watched one entertaining heavyweight fight, which was I'd watch again actually. And then I had to watch that. Jared Anderson's a really talented fighter who lately hasn't looked it. That's the truth of it. Nowhere near. Like I was all over it. I was going him and because he's a heavyweight. He's not as good as Stevenson, Shakur Stevenson. But I was going them two are the future of boxing. Because I thought I was talking about reassurance of American fighters. And I thought them two are the guys that lead that charge in the States.
But he did, didn't he? Got that big endorsement from Tyson Fury as well. He's going to be this, and he was blowing guys out of there.
He's not the biggest at heavyweight. He's only 6'4".
Tiny.
He's a midget. Imagine me, I'd be embarrassed if I was that size. And but he's really athletic. But actually, he's just doing the same. Like down that fight, he just did the same thing repetitively. Which, if it's working for you, that's fine. But when you're a guy who's not doing nothing, if that's all you can do, I criticise people. If that's all you can do, and you're winning a fight, just keep doing that. It's fine. And no one can criticise you. But when we know what you can do, the ability you have, and the star you can possibly be. And you just keep doing the same things all the time in a fight where the guy's not doing anything. It's literally just like offering you, do what you want. I mean, sacrificial lamb he was to him. He just didn't do anything enough. And I'm very disappointed in Jared Anderson because he's still a potential star. I was talking about him last week on another podcast. Andy was on it.
What?
Yes.
I was, yeah.
Couple of whores.
Shamelessly plugging the book.
He's nicking all my work, isn't he? I get Barry Jones after that, he went.
Anyway, Andy, going to come to you. I mean, I think we all kind of, after the Charles Martin fight, we recognised some, I don't want to say red flags, but certainly areas of improvement for Jared Anderson. I think we all agreed it was quite telling that they brought him back against Andre Rudenko, who, while sort of being that sort of gatekeeper role over the last 10 years or so, isn't, the stiffest challenge at this stage of his career, let's put it that way. But it was another performance this past weekend that left us with more questions than answers about Jared Anderson, or are we being too harsh?
No, I think that is fair. I do think it's hard though when you find yourself in against somebody who's really not trying to do anything other than get through the rounds. And I accept that if he's going to be that really top level guy, then those are the situations in which you need to be able to find an answer. But it's not easy. And he really was just looking to get through Ryad Merhy, and so I can definitely make allowances for that. Watching it, it's tricky. It can be tricky. Top Rank have always really believed in Jared Anderson, right from the very beginning, and so I think therefore, as you say, if they've seen a few things, they want to be quite careful with him. But I just wonder whether they've got to the point now where they think, maybe the way to kick this guy onto the next level is to gamble with him a bit, and
that's the MO, really, isn't it?
Give him a challenge now to really try and force what we think is in there out of him. Like nothing crazy, but just that. I feel like their matchmakers might be at the stage now where they just think, okay, how do you get the best out of somebody? And a nice slow build is a way to do it with some, but with others, they get to a point and then you need to prod them with a sharp stick to get them up to the next stage, and he could be one of them.
We'll come on and talk about it at another point.
You get him. You're so spot on, but you get him a cruiserweight who you can bully, like they did.
But I think as well. Touching on what you said there, Andy,
what you said spot on. But I think they did that.
I don't like Merhy wasn't. He wasn't moving a lot. He wasn't
somebody with a bit more jeopardy attached to them as well.
Potentially,
I mean.
yes, but I felt like that was set up for similar to what Barry said there.
Jagba. I'd love to see him.
That's what I was going to say. Like, we're going to come and talk about a Jaguar versus
rank special. Wouldn't it?
a Jaguar versus Vianello was another fight that had a. I thought
that was a top rank special.
It's
got of a lower level.
But there was a lot of things that in his last couple of fights that I was kind of impressed with a Jaguar that he didn't do at all against Vianello, and he looked all at sea for most of that fight, if not. I mean, maybe like when he turned southpaw, he actually started doing some stuff but up until that point, all of I thought against Joe Goodall, jumping around to kind of include them both because I think that does work, Anderson and a Jaguar. But against Joe Goodall and then against Jan Kosabutski, he looked a lot more settled, he looked a lot more organised. And I don't know, Vianello and him have sparred a lot of rounds together.
But Vianello's got an erratic style, hasn't he? It's just hard to get the.
You can tell that Vianello, because before the fight, it's like, Jaguar will stop Vianello. And then just before the start of the fight, he's sort of thinking about the amount of rounds they've sparred together and the fact that Vianello was pretty up for it. And he was just because he knows it's not the surprise, different situation, like Lawrence Okoli, when people look at it from the outside and they go, yeah, no problem. But when they're in there, it's, oh my God. Whereas you got a Chris Billum-Smith or someone like that who's been in there and experienced it. Like Vianello would have been hit clean, okay, bigger gloves, but he's still a fucking heavyweight man mountain. It's still going to hurt. He knows what he's expecting when he goes in there. But just on Jared Anderson, I felt like that was set up for him, and Merhy let him walk through the door and get off. And whenever it was similar to sort of different Zelfa Barrett, when he actually let his hands go, you could tell Merhy didn't enjoy it at all. And Merhy wasn't doing a lot of movement. He wasn't particularly slick. He was just sort of there on the edge of range, and he kind of loaded up that big left hook, which I felt kept Anderson too honest at times. But I didn't feel like I didn't look at that and think as much as he was in survival mode, Merhy, I didn't think it was a particularly nuanced version of it. I think he was kind of just on the outskirts or the edge of range and just shelling up and looking to land one shot.
And I agree with that. But with all fighters, but particularly with heavyweights, I think there are certain things that you can't really know about them until you discover them. And does he trust his own chin, Jared Anderson, or not?
I think that Prince Charles Martin fight is significant. I think since then, we spoke about it in the immediate aftermath when we were on here, and where it wasn't that Martin hurt him, and he did hurt him a few times, really hurt him. It wasn't like he buzzed him bad. But the physical strength of Martin as well, he was bullying him, he was pushing him around the ring. And when you're being told by Barry that you're the next this, that, in the heavyweight division, and then something like that happens, how do you react to that? How do you respond to that?
It's not just him. Plenty of people are saying it. It's just this. It is we talk about gut check, chin check, and all this kind of thing. But we talk about them for a reason, and that's particularly in that division. That is something where that's a real concern, because in your own mind as a fighter, no one's going to really know until they know whether they can stand up to that side of it or not. And you don't just want to go in there, and no one's going to go in there and hang their chin out. There's nothing good about getting hit clean. It will happen, and you need to be able to take it. But at the same time, he might just be thinking to himself,
"You should write a book about things like this."
He might just be thinking to himself, well, I can beat this bloke 10-0 comfortably enough, and I know what people want to see, but why do I need to take unnecessary risks against him? He
said that after the fight, didn't he? Which I thought was telling, because he boxed, because Merhy landed that counter left hook a couple of times early on, and you could just see Anderson go, okay, yeah, there's some life. It wasn't an awful lot, but there was some life in Merhy. But he said after the fight in his post-fight interview, where he said, and it's not wrong in what he's saying, but, I'm not going to get brain damage for the fans, and, I'm just looking to win the fight. It's about taking as little punches as possible, which is true, but that's not what you were sold on. That's not what got everybody excited about you, and that's not it's not what people are tuning in for in a heavyweight division. That is fact.
No, you're right.
When Jared Anderson came through, it was athletic, punches like a middleweight, brilliant this and brilliant that.
Took a half exactly. That educated risk, didn't he?
Exactly, and it was exciting to watch, whereas the Martin fight showed a lot of, I think, his inexperience and where he needs to develop as a fighter, physically as well as mentally. And then when you see him against Merhy, who I didn't think there was an awful lot of resistance there, it was go there, let your hands go. Yeah, okay. Yeah. When he knocked out Kingsley eBay, one of the most impressive things about that is he stood in there, he landed a shot, eBay fired back, he was catch, right hand, big left hook. It didn't look interested in getting into that type of fight at the weekend.
Some fighters can be safer in that little situation because they're so zoned in that they see things. They have a clear. Some people just have that ability to have a in the fire, in the danger area, they see things clearly. They slow things down somehow.
Josh Taylor, like in that mid-range where you have the division there, but at range it's not quite the same.
Yeah, he's so good. This stuff is like it just like, I could talk about it all day, but it's that thing where you feel like if you try and keep yourself safe, you're safer. When actually you're at your safest when you commit 100% to what you're doing, and you can get caught at any time. Of course, it can happen, particularly not at any level, but when you get to a certain level. But it's if he's in that kind of hinterland at the minute, whereby he's felt one from Martin and thought, okay, this is what can really feel like in the heavyweight division. I don't really want to gamble until I have to, but you can be at your safest when you've just accepted the fact that it's always a gamble. It doesn't mean you be reckless, but you just, as I say, you commit to 100% to what you're doing, knowing that you're never going to have complete control. But that is like does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally makes sense.
Yeah,
So,
but this is one of those areas where, having never done it, I don't really know how you do that. Is that like a bit of a light bulb moment?
Well, no, but I think
or do you get there in stages?
Well, sometimes it can be either one. To be fair, I think the more experience you have, I think that when you go back to those people who never boxed before, I said the hardest thing is not taking punches; it's having punches thrown at you, because your natural reaction is to go up and away. Where like we were talking about, you literally got to get low and almost go into the punches, be comfortable to slip shots. You're safer inside than you are outside, because outside another punch can come. You know what I mean? You move away from the jab, but then the right hand's longer. If he throws the right hand, and if you're off balance, so almost if you slip inside, it's harder for him to throw the uppercuts, and they're harder cut shots to be more accurate with. You got to get low, strong, slip inside and work away. The things you used to do. So the hardest thing is getting used to punches thrown at you. Once you get used to that, and lower weights get used to that more quickly, because we don't have the power to knock people out. So you have to take punches and have to get used to punches thrown at you. Once you're comfortable with that, then you can, and at the higher level it becomes more intense and stuff, and you might be a master at one level and shit at the other level. But so I think you have to just have that mindset of the belief and slow things down and never panic, and try and keep your mind clear, so you can just never go, oh shit. You're always like, okay, good shot, to sit down, engage, or be a Fabio Wardy and get hit with the shot and go and fire him back. Well, I think it's interesting though that he's good mates with Shakur Stevenson, and he's doing his safety first approach more than he has recently as well, by the way. But I think his life outside the ring is ruining his boxing career.
This is another thing that we were going to come on to, because I think when you factor in that Charles Martin performance, and then in fact I think he's been arrested for two different things since then. Of course, one of them was kind of like a GTA style police chase, and obviously not trying to get into the
two gun violation thing,
Yeah, had a gun violation. I think he had one under the influence.
States,
yeah, exactly.
So where did this happen? Does this back in Ohio, where he's from?
He's got two different. I can't off the top, and I don't want to.
I know it's an in-depth question.
But there's two different states.
The reason I ask is that he might have to make some tough decisions here and decide, look, I've got to take myself away from home, away from where I'm from, and just totally out of that equation. Because if I don't, I get one shot at this, and the people around me, it's not like they're always encouraging him to do this, that, and the other, but then they want the best for him, but you have to make really, really tough decisions as an athlete sometimes.
Yeah.
I was listening to Gary Neville's podcast the other day, and he basically said, as soon as he signed for Manchester United as a professional at 16, he basically never spoke to or hung around with any of the people he was at school with ever again. Not because they were bad lads, but just because they've got their life, I've now got mine. They're not the same. I can't do what they're doing, even if that's just going down the chippy on a Tuesday. I can't do that now, because I have to maximise everything. Yeah. And sometimes that's just how it's got to be.
The thing is,
every kid makes a sacrifice like that, though. Like, I mean, like, oh no, even the people like me, all your mates are going out, taking drugs. None of my mates took drugs, Mum. Right, my mum watches this. But they're all taking drugs. I couldn't. They're all drinking. I stopped drinking. I still go out, but I wouldn't do that. And, everyone stays out at 4 o'clock. I make sure I go home at 1, because that's all the trouble starts when the nightclub closes.
Yeah.
A lot of people can't do that.
But that's the difference, though, isn't it? And then you go, and so then that becomes talent means fucking nothing. Discipline is everything.
As we said in the past, so many disciplines are talent. Like
so he needs Bob Adam or something like that to sit him down and go, look, look at this Lennox Lewis there, and there's this fight, all the great fight. Look at all them. There you go. No, and then have a massive list of all these really good fighters who no fucking knows about, and go, they see him, Joey. I don't know what that is. Yeah, that's so and so. Is it? Okay, what are you telling me for? He had more talent than you. You know what he did? Drugs. Shot someone in the foot. End up in prison. He ended up being someone's bitch. That's the end of him. You see this guy here? Yeah, just as much talent as you had. Yeah, he was 16-0, like 12 knockouts, the best looking man on the planet. Oh, never heard of him. Do you know why? Because he done something. He run someone over because he was drunk driving. And so, be a cautionary tale, Jared Anderson, or be a billionaire.
But this is the thing, though. We all saw that interview he did with Roy Jones Jr. You think about that, and it's kind of he's made it clear in various different interviews that he's not in this for the long run. That he wants to make his money and get out. And you hear the stuff outside the ring. Then he gets hurt by Charles Martin. He comes back. He don't look like the same fighter. Yeah, he might be good friends with Shakur Stevenson. Don't mean you fight like him. They're two totally different fighters stylistically, in my opinion. Certainly in a heavyweight division.
But he has the ability to do, and especially now at the minute, the heavyweight division with Saudi involved, where they love the heavyweights. Like you're always going to make loads of money. Like the thing, he's making loads of money now. To what from where he grew up from, he's a rich man in his mind, but it's not rich really. But you think it's that. But I mean, he can make millions quickly. I mean, if he can just get his act together. I think that's what it seems to me. The outside thing. If he can get his life together and just dedicate himself for 2 years.
But
he might earn £20 million.
But we still don't. You talk about kind of ability, and we still don't know if he's got that ultimate mental ability that you particularly need at heavyweight, which is to roll the dice and make that
evidence. The evidence at the minute is that he doesn't.
And if he doesn't have it, then he was never going to get there.
Yeah,
we just never knew it.
Yeah, and yeah.
We judge a guy on ability, don't we? We see all we can see is what we see in the ring.
Yeah,
you go, that's ability, that's ability. And then you see ability, and then you see, and you haven't stepped up massively. You see ability, and obviously you think, actually, what's happening here now? Because you had that ability, you haven't moved on, or then you regressed. When they start to regress against opponents, which they shouldn't do, then you start to think, you haven't stepped up a level here and gone, okay, maybe you look good there, not so good here, because you stepped up a level. So we have to reassess how good you are. You haven't. You just start thinking, there's something different there. Now we know, but with someone like him, and now with social media, we get to know their life outside more than we need to know. And you see the way he's acting outside, and he wants everything. Like all young men, we want it all, don't we? We want everything. We all want to be the best looking, the biggest, whatever. The most money, the most charisma, the loveliest, the nastiest. You can't have everything, can you? I mean, some of us can. But when you're young, you think, why can't I have everything? And in sport, you can't. And everyone will tell you that. Ronaldo was the best football player, or is, or whatever, because he trains hard. Talent is just a small bit. Mm. And I go back to that beer mat, that Phil Sutcliffe, who was a top Irish amateur, one of the best ones they've ever had. And he had a beer mat, and he ripped up into all these pieces: dedication, application, luck, and the smallest bit was ability. Mm. He went, I went, why you want? He went, and he put it all together, and he went, but without ability, you don't make it. But ability on its own does shit. You need all these other things.
It's the final piece of the jigsaw.
But all the other things are within your control. Ability is just a gift. All the other stuff you can do, except for luck. Luck's luck, and luck's the biggest part actually. But he's got the luck because he's in with the right people.
Yeah, exactly.
He's in with people who know to nurture talent better than maybe anybody. That's the truth.
I think he's a fascinating case where he is in his career now.
Really is. This is a really interesting point, because up until the Charles Martin fight, he was the second coming. He was going to do this, and the next great American heavyweight. The last 3 fights now, that's been so Martin, Rudenko. I mean, he stopped Rudenko, but what version of him?
There's no point having another one like that, is there? Because they won't discover anything new. I do feel like the next stage has to be right. Okay, here's a fight laced with some jeopardy. Let's see.
I think, and we're going to talk about it now in more detail. The FA Jagba fight. That now makes more sense than it's always sort of made sense.
And as we know, it's the kind of thing they do, isn't it?
Because I mean, Jagba,
the kind of thing they do.
Even in winning against Guido Vianello this weekend, didn't look great. Was badly hurt in that second round. Really was hurt. Yeah. I think if Vianello did the right thing. Just a bit too much of it. It's like get him hurt and jump on him. He physically jumped on him and tried to throw him out of the ring.
This man, he has no judgment of the distance for that.
No, and you can tell he got excited as soon as he hurt him. He's and then
it just makes so much sense, that fight, doesn't it? Because this is also obviously it's a ruthless business, and if you're top rank, you need to know soon whether this guy that you've already put a lot into, whether you're going to get your investment back or not. Because if you're not, you need to know and kind of quit while you're still behind.
Jagba was that, wasn't it?
They're both
they're
in
both.
that same thing
They're
now.
both
I
in
mean,
that
Anderson
bucket.
obviously has probably the highest stock within Top Rank. But having said that, I thought a Jagba after I didn't think he looked great against Stefan Shaw, which was his first fight after the Frank Sanchez fight. But he still got the rounds in one clear.
He's a tough guy.
But against Jan, I thought, okay, well, bloody hell, like here we go. He's working the body really well. He's worked a bit lower than the body as well at times in that fight. And then Joe Goodall is sort of like very physically tough, but very kind of agricultural. Exactly. But he dealt with him how you should deal with somebody like that. He went over to him, had a look for a round, and battered him and got him out of there. This past weekend was steps and steps backwards, I felt. I mean, Vianello's awkward and certainly knows about him.
Vianello's got a horrible erratic style, so he's hard to think. What the Jagba did well is he's too easy to hit. That's his problem. But he kept his shape quite well. So in those later rounds, when he was able to get a foothold because Vianello was just jumping in and out.
He was exhausted, wasn't he, Vianello?
He overwastes his energy, and the Jagba was more economical. But he's a good fighter, and he can bang, and he's nice and neat. But because he's hittable, then you would think an Anderson should do a job on him. But
then again, you've got a Jagba. A Jagba carries power, and you could, based on what we saw this weekend in his last couple of fights, you could see Anderson taking a shot early and going, actually, no, we're going to keep it safe. We're not going to do this, and I don't think that does. I don't think that does work for him. It's funny, kind of like a heavyweight double header. I think the heavyweight who came out of things with his reputation enhanced the most was Guido Vianello.
Yeah, he did.
I agree watching it. Yeah, I agree.
And it was that type of fight. It was a split decision. You got it on one card, and I felt like it wasn't. I had it for a Jagba. I did think a Jagba won the fight, particularly in the second half of the fight. But it wasn't a ridiculous notion that Vianello may have got a draw or pinched it.
Just him. It's because the way he moves. Just the whole in those tight rounds, the impression is that Jagba's in control. Yeah. Because again, keeping your shape's really important. Because especially in amateur boxing, I would say, because you get guys who are always loose and flicking shots. But if you keep your shape and punch neat, even though actually you might be doing just as good as work, but the neater guy who keeps his shape tends to look like he's in control of himself, which means it looks like he's in control of the fight in those sort of exchanges. And I think that's what it was with the Jagba. He just looked always physically stronger, even though he wasn't really doing much more, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay, here's one. If we don't get Jared Anderson versus F.A. Jagba, slightly less sexy, admittedly.
The commentator.
Jared Anderson against Guido Vianello.
Oh yeah,
they could do that. Yeah,
they could do that. I think they're going so slow with him.
That'd be the safer option. That'd be really interesting to see which one of those two they do, because I don't know why you would go outside either of those two for Anderson next. But it'd be interesting to see which one they go for. Because Vianello, we know he'll go for it. He'll look at it as being a big opportunity
that could
again.
Be a stinker, can it?
Yeah, it could. Yeah,
but I would like to see them make the Jagba fight for Anderson rather than the Vianello. If they go down the Vianello route, it's almost again, like they're kind of. It would be almost like you'd feel like they suspect they know the answer. They just can't bear it just yet.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point.
He just needs to be pushed up against the wall. He does. What's his name? Anderson. And say, listen, like you're throwing your career away, mate. Just buckle down a bit, because you party. Cause, I just say to him, listen, go out now, disappear for 4 months, do everything, whatever you want to do. I don't care. To enjoy yourself, and then come back and stop it all. I mean, don't spend a fucking penny. Don't go anywhere. Say goodbye to all your friends. Dedicate your life, because this in and out quick, you can do it, but you have a big life ahead of you. So you can be in and out quick, but if you're not going to dedicate yourself now, then you're going to earn £1 million, which for him is going to be nothing, because he'll spend it all, and then you're going to be a guy who could have been a superstar working on a door in Vegas somewhere. You're going to be a cautionary tale. There's more of them than out of the guys who make it. There's more of them.
But quite often, what can happen in that situation is kind of mentally somebody can almost deliberately choose that, because it's an opt out. If they don't want to, they would rather. It's like somebody making an excuse to fail before they do something. It's like, I'm carrying an injury into this one. I'll be lucky to get through the whatever, and then No, that doesn't work. But people do choose that sometimes because they're scared almost.
It's easier
you
to
know?
do.
Scared's a harsh
I
word
know
in
what you're
boxing,
saying, but like
they're
it's more
scared
comfortable.
of the success.
It's comfortable.
It's
living
easy
that.
to say, "Oh, I could have done this if I hadn't done that." But you did do it, and you chose to do it.
We all got to say, I pick every time I come here. I think a reason not to come. Well, we all got a self-destruct button, haven't we? You know what I mean? I think, what the fuck am I doing this for? Like,
we recorded that stuff before we got started, didn't we, G-Man?
I don't
Yeah.
that.
Anyway.
Right.
But you were saying, Barry?
No, but I mean, I think everyone has a bit of a self-destruct button.
Yeah, of course.
Because like, everything's going too good, and you're always like, this is too good. And maybe boxers, because the way the sport is, or maybe the punch you take, almost look for fucking problems.
And it's also it's the double-edged sword.
Because
Of
you're
like,
fighting, by the way, so you're almost looking for a problem. You're looking for a fight.
but also it's like it's understanding. Like boxers are mental by and large, you know, like it's not a normal thing to do. And a lot of fighters come from working class backgrounds and really hard, like tremendous hardship. And when you're a Jared Anderson and all of a sudden you've gone from, and he says in that interview with Roy Jones Jr., which I mean, at the time everyone's like, oh, this is this great, brilliant content. But if you look at it and you think, oh shit, man, this is a guy who's, you know, potentially got some emotional issues or whatever that he's come from. And that's quite common across the board in boxing. You're taking people from really the hardest of hardships and giving them $1 million or whatever and telling them you're great, you're on ESPN, you're blah, blah, blah. But if he gets caught with a shot, and from his perspective, it can't be easy. You get caught by a shot from Charles Martin, who I think we can all agree has been kind of underrated throughout his career since Joshua because of what happened in the Joshua
he's
fight.
Better fighter since Joshua.
Yeah, of course.
Much
But
better.
in that fight, Anderson, who's the next this, the next that, the next the other, gets hurt. And now all of a sudden, people like me and us and everyone, oh, well, he's not that good now anyway. Like, how do you deal with that?
I mean,
like,
you're put into this, you are put into this physical and mental blast furnace, basically, and it will expose things in a really savage and glaringly public way. But it's talking about, you know, the plan to get in, get out, do all of this. That isn't how it works. Like nobody has ever managed to do that.
No.
Because it's never that simple. And either you're in it or you're not. There are no half measures to it. There can't be. And either he kind of realises that. Well, and this is my point really. He could be in that place where he has realised that, and he knows that he doesn't really want to make that commitment.
Yeah, and if that's the case, but I'm sure they have. Someone's got to have a talk with him. Sitting down, he's a talent. He's a talent that can go all the way. That's clear for everyone to see. When he's good, he's good. But it looks like his life outside is ruining his career inside. So, like, someone has to talk to him and go, this or not. And then if he listens, he listens. If you don't listen, then you just treat him like everyone else, like you're a commodity to every promoter. Even if they want, no promoter wants fighters to get brain damage. No promoter wants fighters to suffer. No, they want every fighter to be successful because they earn more money. But ultimately, they've learned to go, yep, I'm on to the next one. Forget about you. Thanks for your help. Cause that's life, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not feel sorry for everyone now. And I don't mean every promoter's a bastard, just 99% of them. but this is their business, their life. So they go, you can make a stand, and I have to talk you for their career, not for them, not for him, for them. Because they want to make loads of money from him, because he's a heavyweight. And if you don't listen, then you feed him to the sharks like you do with the rest of them. Like a Jagba. They haven't quite done that, but they give him you got another chance, but you go in the B-side, and he gets a win. And that's how it works, you know. And they might feed him again to Anderson, and if he wins that, then he becomes the baby again, and we love you. And that's how it works. That's how boxing is. You can't take it personal. It's just you do take it personal because it's about you, but you got to try not to. And as heavyweights, they get more attention and more, but they also get more money, and they have a chance to change their life quicker than any other weight because of what. And now with the Saudi stuff, more than ever. So like, fucking Jared, you're a talent, man. Shape up. Or ship out. Mate.
There we go. You heard it here first. Right, okay. We're going to wrap up the review section and we're going to start a new one for Haney versus Garcia. So make sure you look out. Probably be tomorrow or Wednesday that the Haney Garcia one will come out. This one will come out Well, you're watching it, so there we go. Abdullah Mason, before we let things go.
Yeah.
Abdullah Mason, another very, very impressive stoppage win in the 4th round against Ron. Looks to be the next one up in the lightweight division. Abdullah Mason, very, very talented. But from us, that's all we have time for on the review section of today's episode of The Boxing Show. Don't forget to tune in on either Tuesday or Wednesday, still haven't decided, for our Haney versus Garcia preview. Don't forget to let us know in the comments who you think will win. Not for that one because you do it in that video, but let's say Anderson versus a Jagba. Let us know in the comments who you think wins, and we'll catch up with you next time.